Good evening. May I have a move and a seconder to call this meeting to order? Brad and Mike, that the Committee of Adjustments meeting held on March 24, 2026 come to order at 6 p.m. All in favor? Carried. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest this evening? Seeing none, may I have a move and a seconder to adopt the previous minutes? Mike and Brad, that the Committee of Adjustments minutes dated February 25, 2026 be adopted as presented. All in favor? Carried. May I have a move and a seconder to receive the request for deferral for application B03/26? Mike and Brad, that the request for deferral for consent application B03/26 for 6084 County Road 90 is hereby received. All in favor? Carried. Welcome to this Committee of Adjustments meeting to allow the public an opportunity to express their views regarding the proposed minor variances and consents within the Township of Springwater. Each applicant and their agent, if applicable, will be given the opportunity to present the applications to the committee and public. Additional information on each of the applications, including any presentation material, is available in the committee agenda on the township's website. Following those members of the public who registered to make an oral submission prior to 5:30 p.m. March 23, 2026 will be given the opportunity to do so. All oral submissions will be included in this minutes meetings and form part of the public record, including the name and address of the speaker as information collected under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. The minutes of the meetings will be posted on the township's website. All comments or questions should be addressed through the chair. Application 1, will the Secretary Treasurer please introduce the first application item number 5.1 on the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 5.1 on the agenda is minor variance application A05/26 submitted by S. Collins regarding lands known municipally as 16 Plowright Road. The purpose and effect of the application is to permit the construction of a one-story detached accessory building, which will result in the exceedance of the total maximum height and area provisions of zoning bylaw 5000 as described. 1. A maximum accessory building height of 6.1 meters, whereas Section 3.7.5B permits a height less than the primary dwelling to a maximum of 4.5 meters. And 2. A maximum total area of accessory buildings or structures of 125.4 square meters, whereas Section 4.3.12 permits a maximum of 65 square meters.
Have any additional correspondence and/or comments been received?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, comments have been received from the Chief Building Official, the Development Services Department, Fire and Emergency Services, and Source Water Protection.
Can I please have the applicant introduce themselves and provide comment, if any? Yes, if you just pull those together, Scott, then you can sit if you want. Thank you. Are there any members of the public registered to make an oral submission?
Thank you, Chair. There are no members of the public who have registered to speak to the application.
Thank you. Are any additional members of the public in attendance this evening to make an oral submission? Thank you. Do any members of the committee wish to comment or have any questions concerning the application? Seeing none, may I have a motion from one of the committee members for application A05/26? Mike?
Yeah, I move the application be approved as per the planning report with the conditions included.
May I have a seconder? Brad? That the Committee of Adjustments, having given consideration to applicable provisions provisions of Section 45 of the Planning Act, the official plan of the Township of Springwater, the characteristics in land in question and its surrounding as addressed in the planning report on application dated March 24, 2026, the correspondence received and information presented at the hearing held on March 24, 2026, and the decision on the matter hereby approve application A05/26. All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much. Will the Secretary Treasurer please introduce the next application, item number 5.2 on the agenda?
Thank you, Chair. Item 5.2 on the agenda is minor variance application A06/26 submitted by the Barrie Soccer Club regarding lands known municipally as 7 Curry Drive. The purpose and effect of the application is to permit the construction of a covered soccer field, soccer dome, and improved parking facilities in relation to the private club use that will be deficient / in excess of the following provisions of zoning bylaw 5000. 1. A minimum front yard width of 6 meters to a surface parking area, whereas section 3.41.5 does not explicitly permit parking areas within required yards and setbacks. 2, a minimum interior side yard width of 2.5 meters to a surface parking area, provided that no parking space is closer than 7.5 meters from an interior side yard lot line, whereas section 3.41.5 does not explicitly permit parking areas within required yards and setbacks. And 3, a maximum height for one soccer dome of 22 meters taken from the highest point, whereas section 30.3.9 states that no building or structure in the institutional zone shall exceed a maximum height of 11 meters.
Have any additional correspondence or comments been received?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, comments have been received from the Chief Building Official, Development Services, Fire and Emergency Services, Source Water Protection, the resident of 1060 Bayfield Street North, the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, and G.H. Russell Planning and Development Services on behalf of the owners of 258 Curry Drive and 1093 Snow Valley Road.
Can I please have the agent introduce himself and provide comment, if any?
Good evening. My name is Will DeVellis, and I'll be representing the Barrie Soccer Club on behalf of the Board of Directors and our 4,000 plus community members. I've been a part of the Barrie Soccer Club for about 19 years as a parent, coach, and volunteer. This project is meant to be an improvement to an already established sport facility by our club, who has been entrenched in the community since 1968. Our goal is to continue to service the community and improve levels of service. We currently operate 3 grass soccer fields at our property, and we'll be looking to improve by installing high quality all-season surfaces, including an indoor functional field that will enable us to provide year-round service to the community. We are reducing our fields from 3 currently down to 2 with this project, which will see significantly less traffic in the summertime and also provide a winter all-season option. There is a snow storage plan to divert overflow snow to overflow parking area and onto the all-season field. We've committed to an additional paved marked parking spaces in addition to the facility being fully fenced, with some areas having decorative wood fencing to ensure privacy for our residential neighbors. We've completed an environmental survey and pre-consultation for traffic and parking, and have been advised that the facility does not require any further studies. We're currently in the final stages of finalizing a partnership agreement with the township, which will codify community programming at the facility, in turn providing services to the residents of Springwater Township and surrounding areas. Just in the past 2 weeks, we've had 4 community organizations approach us to request rental time in the facility that has yet to even break ground, showing the demand and need for the community hub such as this one. So I'd just like to thank you for your time and consideration this evening.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public registered to make an oral submission?
Thank you. We have Michelle Drake of 1060 Bayfield Street North. If you'd like to come forward and thanks.
Okay, good evening. I am writing, which I'm reading from the letter I sent to you. Make an objection to this proposal, as this will significantly devaluate my land and my property. My property is shown in your key map as indicated with the next cross. You will see. I do not wish to use this big white dome. I don't want to see it when I get up in the morning from my balcony that overlooks my backyard, nor do I have a parking lot near my property line. You can add the dome to the other soccer field, leftmost, as per your concept plan diagram. That is further from my property, as long as the zoning bylaw 5000 is abided. According to the paragraph stated in your proposal, it looks like your initial proposal is not according to the zoning bylaw 5000. The proposed in effect of this application is to permit the construction of a soccer dome and surface parking facilities in relocation to the private club, use that will be deflected in excess of the following provision by zoning bylaw 5000 as described below. The minimum number of required parking spaces of 60 spaces for a private club use, whereas section 3.41.3 requires a minimum number of parking spaces, 1 space for each 7 persons, maximum design capacity. A minimum front yard width of 6.0 meters to a surface parking area, whereas section 3.41.5 does not explicitly permit parking areas within required yard and setback. A minimum interior side yard width of 2.5 meters to the surface parking area, provided that no parking space is closer than 7.5 meters from the interior side lot line, whereas section 3.415 does not explicitly permit parking area within required yards and setback, and a maximum height for a soccer dome of 22.5 meters is 73.82 feet, taken from the highest point, whereas section 30.3.9 states that no building or structure in the institutional zone shall exceed the maximum height of 11.0 meters, equivalent to 36.9 feet. I don't have to be a mathematician that they're requesting twice the height that is allocated in zoning bylaw 5000. They want 22, zoning bylaw is 11. The reason the zoning bylaw was put into place specifically for this reason, to protect other properties from the depreciation of value. You don't seem to have a reason to make this dome higher than designated, since my property is the only one that is against the land that was given to the Barrie Soccer Club prior to you for $1 since deceased Mr. Curry Sr. And it wasn't in 1968, it was in 1980. And I have the documentation should you need it for me to prove it. Furthermore, I refuse to have a parking lot near the fence line, close to the property line. I can imagine there will be more people than before throwing garbage over my fence or trespassing than before. And for everyone's sake, I would prefer that my property not be devaluated even more based on your proposed concept. Perhaps you can put the parking lot on the either side, west or north facing sides instead. I understand that developing the surrounding area will increase the value for the township as new homes are being built for new families to move in. But it doesn't seem fair that it comes at the expense of individuals who already reside here. I wish to be involved in any alternative planning applications related to this matter, and to be notified of any decision made regarding this particular application as per committee of adjustment. In conclusion, this is why I am opposed to the application of minor variance and proposed planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional members of the public in attendance this evening to make an oral submission? Yep, you can come up here and just state your name and who you're with. Hi.
Good evening. My name is Gord Russell. I'm a planning consultant. I've been retained by the Curry family to represent their interests for 2, 5, 8, and 1093 South Valley Road. So 258 Curry Drive and 1093. The minor variance application really deals with two aspects. One is parking, and the second one is the height of the dome. I want you to be aware that the Currys over the last 18 months have put a lot of money and expertise into bringing forward a development plan for their lands. And that is basically a new complete community on the west side of Bayfield Street that will comprise of major commercial uses, high-density residential uses, and medium-density residential uses, along with a park and wetlands and of two categories, wetland EP number 2, which is basically passive recreation type of environmental uses, and then the natural heritage protection EP1, which is the wetlands. So in my letter, I provided a concept plan that illustrates the context of the entire development that we're bringing forward. We had no idea that the soccer club was bringing forward an application for a dome that was 73 feet high. If we could put that concept plan up on the screen, I'd just like to just illustrate that because there's so much involved here that we want to make sure that all the development is done correctly. Is there a possibility of bringing forward that concept plan?
He's working on it right now.
Okay, very good. So we would like to just ensure that the committee understands what is involved in terms of this development. Council has not seen this concept plan, so they're in the dark at the moment. But because this application came forward first, we wanted to ensure that the committee is aware of it. And just to understand, we are working through our engineering reviews, and that includes stormwater management reports, traffic analysis, parking, use analysis between our proposed uses for development and the uses for the wetlands and the passive recreational uses. And the passive recreational uses also includes what the municipality wishes from a trail perspective. And the development itself provides a trail system. So let's just start with where the Barrie Sports Hub lands are located. So if I could ask thank you very much there. Those are the lands, and within those lands, it is proposed to put a 73-foot high soccer dome. And just understand a little bit of background. Those lands comprise approximately 5 acres of land. 2 acres of those lands were conveyed from the Currys to the Optimist Club in 1996. So I have a survey within my report, my letter, that shows that it was the 2 acres that were conveyed from the Currys. And that was to ensure that the soccer club had sufficient lands to undertake their soccer activities. Along with that, those soccer activities were to ensure that there was sufficient parking to accommodate the users of the soccer pitches. So of the entire property, 2 acres were conveyed by the Curry family, and they are community oriented. They wanted to ensure that the soccer pitches had sufficient lands to accommodate all the types of uses that were required. As you can see, the concept plan adjacent to the soccer pitches include townhouses and mid-rise apartments to a maximum of 11 meters. The dome is proposing for 22 meters, well in excess of the intent of the zoning bylaw. The additional aspect of increasing the development potential of the soccer pitches is traffic. So the soccer pitch property has possibly 20 meters, but likely less than 20 meters frontage on Curry Drive. And you can see that just at the end of the cul-de-sac. So just to the south of the cul-de-sac, there's just a small portion of land that the Barrie Soccer or Barrie Sports Hub owns that front onto Curry Drive. So all the traffic coming along Curry Drive and into the site have to go through that small portion of property to get to the site. And that works provided that the site plan is geared towards that. And I'm going to ask to bring up the site plan that the applicant submitted along with the application. And you're going to see something that doesn't quite conform to what they're allowed to do under the frontage on the open public road. Curry Drive at the cul-de-sac has a 1 foot reserve, a 0.3 meter reserve. What that means is basically it says an invisible fence not to allow access across that other than for the Curry lands. So nobody can cross that line legally. So what's happening at the present moment is that the soccer club facility, although they do their best, it is estimated that they have 420 users at the moment. And the number I got that from is from the planning staff that worked out the parking requirement for 420 users. What that provision says for parking is that there's 1 parking space for every 7 users. That's not to suggest that there's 7 people in each car, because that would be, quite frankly, unreasonable, because not very many vehicles have 7 seats in their vehicle. So you're going to actually require more parking spaces to accommodate the 720 users. And those 720 users are generally kids using the parking. So you have a parent as well driving the vehicle. But that said, that provision is very light in just doing the mathematics. So the bylaw may require 60 parking spaces, but in reality, there's going to be a bigger demand than 60 parking spaces for the facility when it's being used. I am not suggesting how many more parking spaces. I am suggesting that the sports club undertake a traffic and parking impact study just to see how many parking spaces would be required through the expertise of a civil engineer. I'm not a civil engineer, I'm a planner, but I'm flagging that for you to not, my request is not to endorse the 60 parking spaces. I'm not sure if you're actually being asked to, but it was in the notice that 60 parking spaces would be the minimum required. And I don't know if you're endorsing that number or not, but I'm asking you not to endorse that number. I'm asking you to request that a traffic and parking impact analysis be done so that we know how many parking spaces in reality are going to be required based on a civil and engineer's expertise. The other aspect of the complete community is that we are doing our traffic study, and the improvements to Curry Drive are going to require a new intersection at Glen Echo and Curry Drive. And that would be an intersection that's going to be signalized. So, and then we're going to have a secondary access out onto Snow Valley Road. So that's going to be the main thoroughfare for the entire community. I don't know what's going to be happening with this facility as it's improved, but we would request the opportunity to coordinate our development with their development as opposed to standalone. Because at the present moment, yes, we have vacant lands, and yes, the facility is using our vacant lands, and they're not asking to use the vacant lands for parking. And you've got a photograph as part of my report, and I've got a larger photograph here if you would like to see it, of 30 cars parked in the Curry parking lot that are just indiscriminately using the parking lot for parking for the soccer pitches. And quite frankly, the liability is huge because we're not talking just like a grocery store with small vehicles. We're talking large trucks that are coming in and out of there. So kids are getting out with their soccer balls, they're kicking the soccer balls around the larger trucks. And we have a truck dealership and we have a towing operation. And the people that are operating these trucks are not looking for kids and they're not looking for small vehicles. And they're backing in, backing out. And the Currys are very concerned about the liability, about the protection of the kids. Nobody wants anybody hurt. And there doesn't seem to be a system in place at the present moment that the Barrie Sports Club has put in place to ensure that there's no parking on the Curry property and that the kids and people are not walking their dog along the vacant lands, kicking balls. The Currys are not objecting to the use of the lands for soccer. They're objecting to the fact that there is a major safety concern with the people amongst the larger trucks, because the truck drivers are not looking for kids. And so it cannot continue to happen. We've tried to have designated areas for parking, but sometimes we're not given notice of when the larger soccer events are occurring. And now with the Dome, it's going to be occurring year round. So that's a major change in the use of the soccer pitches and the changes in parking with regards to the Currys. So we have a concern about the greater need for parking on the property. If it's 60, and that's the report, the conclusion of the report, so be it, and we'll see what happens with regards to the development of the property and whether there's additional overflow from the Barrie Soccer Club to onto the Curry lands. But at the present moment, they're not controlling their parking users, and they're freely letting their users park on the Curry property. And it's just a major safety issue. So we're not objecting to increased parking. That is great. I estimate that they've got about 25 parking spaces maximum on the property at the present moment. So of course, even the bylaw, they're deficient to the bylaw at the present moment. But what we're trying to do is make sure that the development is successful and that there is sufficient parking to accommodate the 420 users. And at the moment, if the site plan is approved the way it is, there is no additional lands in which additional parking can be utilized or can be accommodated on the site. There is no vacant lands close by. The Dome is going to be in the middle, and then there's going to be an open soccer pitch to the west, but that has no connectivity to the parking area beyond the Dome. They can't turn that into a parking area and get to the parking area that is being proposed and out the driveway, the single driveway entrance. So let's go to this proposed site plan that the applicant is proposing. If I could, thank you very much.
Yes, Fred.
If I may, I wonder if before Mr.
Russell?
I'm sorry
No,
about
no
that.
problem at all.
Sorry
No
about
problem
that.
at all, Brad.
Continues. I have a lot of the concerns that he's actually done a very good job of speaking to, and I wonder if at this time, we should just ask, I could ask for this to be deferred, or we should ask for this to be deferred until some of these questions can be addressed. I understand that the township's engineer hasn't looked at the site plan. So what we're seeing is conceptual. We don't really know where the parking is, how far back it is from property lines, where the snow storage is, what the real parking requirements are. And until some of that engineering is taken care of, perhaps it would be best to defer this.
Evan, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify for the committee that the variance doesn't set the site plan up on the screen in stone, that there's a site plan approval process required after the variance is approved. This variance is just for approval of the concept of the height and the reduction in the interior and front side yard. There will be a detailed engineering review, including a traffic impact study, functional servicing, look at snow storage through engineered drawings and site plan drawings. This would all be done kind of as the part of the site plan stage, not the variance stage typically.
Brad?
Thank you for the clarification. Does that mean that that site plan phase can't proceed until the variance is approved?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the member of committee. Technically, no. They can apply for a site plan approval today. But in the development community, it's usually kind of the zoning approvals that come first to give developers and their investors secure feelings that their proposal will be able to progress naturally through the planning regime.
Follow on?
So, yeah. So I guess my concern is, as it sits right now with all the unknowns out there and the concern expressed by the different groups, as well as my concerns, especially around snow storage, I can't support this the way it is. After it is looked at by, especially Ainley's, I have a lot of respect for them, as well as some of the other township staff. I think some adjustments will be made. And then when it comes back, perhaps I'd be able to support it, but I wouldn't be able to support it right now. So I don't know what the best move is going forward. I don't know if that's a question for you or.
I'll let Mike, I think Mike wants to speak and then.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's prudent to hear the rest of the information. I have lots of concerns and questions as well. But I think the information is important. What I don't, with all respect to you, Mr. Russell, I don't need the details of Curry's future plan, the micro detail. The fact that there is one is a very important piece of information, and then the general concept of what it is. The micro details of it are not the issue today, in my opinion. But I think it's really important to know that that's what Curry's have planned. And Curry's didn't know about this issue. I'm guessing that the soccer people didn't know about Curry's issues either. So that issue itself is very important to deal with today. But I would still like the general information to be presented without an awful lot of minutia.
Mr. Russell, I don't know if you want to continue with what you wanted to say, and I know the soccer Will has something to say, his hands up, so if you wanted to continue, and then we can continue.
I'll continue and I'll try to keep it short. I understand your time is precious. So if we can just go back to the proposed site plan, I'll just identify 4 things that could change significantly on the site plan that I am recommending that those reports be done so that it confirms either the concept plan for the site plan is appropriate or that it could actually change significantly.
And
So,
with that plan too, this isn't written in stone as per the planner, right? So
correct.
even though you will recommend, this isn't what's going to be placed.
Right, but this is the plan that they put forward as part of this application for you to consider. So conceptually, if I may, to speak to the plan, there are basically 4 things that are up in the air. Number 1, is the parking sufficient in numbers? So we've got 60 parking spaces basically on the east side of this property, and there is no opportunity to expand that parking area. So that's number one. And the parking access, one of the access, as you can see to the top middle of the property, accesses onto the Curry property. Well, that's illegal. So until the new road goes through and becomes a public road, that access is not available for the soccer pitches. And that's one of the main problems, is that they're parking on the Curry property. Number two is that our plan for the entire development dictates that the stormwater management pond, which is huge, has to be in the southeast corner of the property based on grades. The proposed stormwater management is in the northwest corner. So opposite to where the actual water is draining naturally. So either they're going to regrade the entire property and put the stormwater management in the northwest corner and then drain it underneath the parking area and out to Curry Drive ditches, or they might be reconsidering where the stormwater management pond is. And that's why I'm asking for a stormwater management report, so that they get it right. The septic system. The septic system was geared for the administration offices of the facility, and it's fairly small. It's probably the size of a typical dwelling. We've got 420 users on this property, and they're going to be there most of the day, and they're going to be using the facilities twice a day. That septic system is going to be very large. In order for the Currys to develop, they have to bring sewers in. I would suspect that it would be advantageous to anticipate that we could hook up the sewer to this property. Now, timetable, I'm not sure about that, but it could be designed in the agreement that the septic system could be done away with and be considered an interim septic system field, and then provide additional parking on that when the sewers are available. It would be nice to have that kind of wording in both the Curry development as well as the Barrie Sports Club site plan agreement. And then the last thing is that there is no connectivity between the outside soccer pitches and the parking area. So as you can see, there's no way to get, if they needed additional parking, there's no way to get to the driveway system from the west half. And it would be nice to accommodate that aspect, just in case if they had to utilize that field area for additional parking. You know, having a parking problem in any business is a great thing to have, because that means you've got customers coming to the site. But once you have customers coming to the site, you got to be able to accommodate them on the site. So just those minor things comes out from my perspective of being a planner looking at this concept plan. And I would refer those comments back to planning staff to ensure that when they do the site plan review, which is not public, it's strictly with the municipal planning staff and the applicant, nothing to do with adjacent neighbors. So we don't have any input. This is the only input we have that's in a public forum. And the last thing that I want to address is the increase in height. It seems simple enough from a minor variance application to go from 11 meters to 22 meters. In fairness, because there's a redevelopment going on here, there should be a zoning amendment, not a minor variance. It's the intent of the official plan is that the height of this property the development of this property for building height is 11 meters. An increase of 2 or 3 meters, that maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. But when you multiply it to 22 meters, that's getting into a zoning amendment aspect as opposed to a minor variance, because it doesn't meet the intent of the bylaw. The intent of the zoning bylaw for institutional uses is 11 meters, which would work well with the medium density residential that we have beside it. And adjacent properties, 11 meters is the norm. An increase to 12, 13, 14 meters, so be it, because it's centered to the property. There's going to be limited impact if it's at the 13, 14 meters. But the dome is 22 meters. That is huge. It's going to be bigger than anything we have in the development that we're proposing. Our building height for the commercial, yes, it allows 22 meters, but that's suggesting that we would have commercial on the first floor and 5 stories of residential on top of that. Nobody builds that anymore. So you're not going to see 6-story buildings, even in our development, even in the commercial core component of our development. The suggestion that the official plan designation that touches this property has commercial mixed use on a sliver of the front of the property. It doesn't even touch where the dome is. So to suggest that the official plan permits 22 meters, it only permits 22 meters where the clubhouse is at the moment. It doesn't permit it in the EP designation, which is what it is in the official plan, where the dome is being proposed. So I would suggest that this is beyond the scope of the committee. Humbly, I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just saying it's a zoning amendment application. It's not a minor variance application. And we don't want to be in a position that we're objecting to this application. We want to be in a position that we're working with the applicant and that both developments are successful. And we would ask that it be deferred to achieve that from the site plan application. Let them go through their process, submit the application, get their reports in, and then let the planning staff come back to you with a plan that is almost correct and then is backed up, supported by their engineering reports. And then we'll stand back and say, okay, based on a stormwater management report, maybe a septic analysis, a traffic and parking analysis, and possibly a shadow analysis, because it is 73 feet high and we've got adjacent residential uses and they may be in the shadows all day long. So we're just asking for some time to let the applicant get their reports ready, submit their site plan application, and then let's look at it together under those 2 applications. And if the committee feels that they want to deal with it as a minor variance, so be it. But at least everybody is now informed with what the proposal is and what the ramifications of the proposal will be. That's our conclusion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure.
I just would appreciate if you would not allow them at this time to process this minor variance to 22 feet and let it be on hold until everything's completed and it's reassessed.
Thank you. Do any members? I'm gonna go to the committee and then we'll ask the soccer person, if you don't mind. Will, is that okay? We're just gonna comment with us and then I'll come back to you.
No worries at all.
Do any members of the committee wish to comment or have any questions concerning the applications, which I believe we probably all do. So I will start with Brad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have one for Mr. Russell and one for the proponent for the soccer club. The Curry lands, what are they currently zoned as?
So they're designated commercial mixed use on 2 Curry Drive and 8 Curry Drive, which fronts or is adjacent to Bayfield Street. And then 5 Curry Drive is the little triangular parcel on the other side of Curry to the south side of Curry Drive. And then 1093 is designated commercial mixed use and employment. And we're going to change the commercial mixed use on 1093 and the employment lands to high density residential and medium density residential. And we're putting those applications together. We've already gone through pre-consultation with the planning staff. They are totally aware of what we're proposing, and we're preparing our official plan amendment, our zoning bylaw amendment, and our draft plan of subdivision applications right now.
Thank you.
If I may,
Go on, yeah.
for the proponent, there's not anybody that knows less about these bubbles than me. Have you looked at lower bubbles? Can the bubble be lower? Is that possible, or is it not because of the size?
Will?
Thank you for the opportunity to respond. Madam Chair, we do have a partner of ours, John Joyce, on the call, who's been supporting our organization through this application process. And I wouldn't mind deferring some of the technical questions to John, if that's okay.
Yep, that's fine. Welcome, John. You can go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I had to exit temporarily and rejoin as a panelist. So apologies if there was a lag there.
Okay.
So I appreciate the question. So the nature of these air-supported domes is that, I mean, they're structures that are for an intended use, and that use is to play sports indoors. So they do have to be a sufficient height in order for those sports to be played and be played successfully or undeterred by, constantly hitting ceilings and light fixtures and all those types of things. So the structural integrity of the dome is part of it, things to do with wind loads and snow loads. But basically, yeah, the overall size and height of the structure is really not variable when it comes to those aspects.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you. So I'm going to direct a question, my question to Will. But before that, I mean, the committee has a right to make a decision here in support of or in opposition to or recommend a deferral of this. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. And in my opinion, Curry's wouldn't have donated the land if they weren't in favor of supporting soccer. So that's a given. You got people that want soccer. The soccer club for sure does not want their members and guests to be in an unsafe situation with traffic and trucks. Like, all of this is just common sense stuff. There's so many things at play here, and knowing each side does not know the other person was wanting to go ahead with their plans at this stage until today or yesterday. My question to the soccer club, to Will, is, would you rather be in a position for us to make a decision either for, against, or deferral, or would you prefer to recommend deferring it yourself so that you can work with the Curry plans and they can work with you and see if these things can be resolved before putting it to a test of a vote? Would that be in your best interest as well?
Thank you for your question. I would like to address one of the things that was asked and one of the statements that was made earlier by the Curry's representative. We do have David Brophy, our financial director, on the call as well. David and I actually did meet with Don Curry back in June of 2025. We actually sat down in his office right across the parking lot. We had an official meeting invite with him, and he invited us over, and we made Don fully aware of kind of what we were looking to do, and out of as good neighbors, asked him if he would be supportive of it. Don obviously did bring up some concerns about parking, but ultimately did say that you'd be fully supportive of the proposal. as long as we could control our parking. And that's exactly the conversation that had occurred. At that time, there was no communication from the Currys about any concept of any building or any expansion of property at that time. What we did know at that time was that Mr. Curry was supportive of the project, according to him, as long as we could control our parking. So with that blessing, we moved forward with a lot of the planning, a lot of the surveys that we have conducted to date, including the drawings and planning around parking and stormwater and so on, without any knowledge of any other conceptual designs or conceptual projects that might have been ongoing, other than just the blessing of, yes, you have our blessing as long as you can provide appropriate parking. Now, with that said, even with that conversation, the Barrie Soccer Club did put almost over $1,000 worth of expense into putting up signage, stanchions, to ensure that the property was marked out for parking purposes. We hired parking lot attendants to ensure from that conversation onwards that we were migrating people into our parking lot and not amongst the Curry lot. What I would like to bring forward as well is the fact that, again, 450 people is an estimate that's being thrown out there. At no time have we ever had 450 people at our facility at one given time. And that's now operating we have currently 3 soccer fields. Having said that, we are now reducing the amount of soccer fields to only 2, which would then indicate that there would be much less people on site at any given time, and increasing the amount of parking within a fenced-in area. So from a safety perspective, we are looking after that, ensuring that there is a fenced-in area of the property. From a attendance standpoint, it will be reduced attendance because it's now not 3 fields, it is only 2. And in the winter time, effectively, it's actually only 1 field, because it will only be the domed field, not the second artificial turf field. So all in all, the attendance it will be much less. Parking will be sufficient because it's been expanded. And from a safety perspective, it will be completely fenced in. Again, we don't know the timing of what the Currys are planning, what their concepts are, on what the timing of that would look like. What we do know is that from a Barrie Soccer Club standpoint, we have a growing membership that unfortunately we have been continuously having to turn children away because we do not have indoor facilities to provide indoor programming throughout the winter. We have been having to have our members travel to Bradford, to Vaughan, because those are the only full-size facilities that are conducive to soccer. We obviously have one up the road in Barrie, off of Hanmer Street, which is actually amongst a residential area, that rents out their facility to baseball and frisbee, and it doesn't have the capacity of time for us to be able to rent and provide that programming to the community. With that said, I think that timing for us is of the essence because we have put so much work into this. We have a growing community within Springwater and area, and a demand for a facility in order to stop us from having to go so far away to get programming. I do think that there were some questions regarding stormwater and parking that I believe John could also address, that might help the committee understand what not the challenges, but the adjustments that could essentially be made to make that work. So I would love to be able to turn that over to John to be able to explain that.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So of the items that were noted in the presentation that was done there. So parking, obviously, we understand there's been a lot of talk about parking, and we understand the concern about parking, especially across the street and the safety issues. So that's something that we're looking at. Stormwater management, we have a consultant team on board for this project that includes civil engineers, and there's a stormwater management solution that's been devised for this facility that is actually slightly different from the plan that you see in front of you. The current plan is that there will be no detention pond, and we're going to be relying on infiltration through stormwater galleries that occur below grade. Similarly, for the septic system, I heard there was a question about the septic system, and of course, that septic system needs to be rebuilt, reconstructed, redesigned. It currently sits underneath a field that is natural turf, but will be becoming artificial turf. We have done, well, not us, our civil engineer on this project has done use calculations and come up with a resizing of the septic field based on the use. Not, again, like Will said, not the number of members that are in the club, because all the members of the club are not using this facility at one time, but based on the use of the facility. There was the comment about connectivity from the west half. Well, we didn't know that was an option until the information was brought forward about what's being done out there. But, certainly accommodated. And, with respect to the parking piece, with the removal of that pond system or surface pond system that we're showing in the current plan, that does allow us to actually increase the amount of parking that's being shown on site. Again, even up from the 60 that's being requested as the minimum. So, I think there's a lot going on here. Obviously, as it's been stated, we weren't aware what was going on across the site, just like they say that they weren't aware what we were trying to do on our site. But there are professionals working on this, design professionals, and we are looking at advancing the plans. And we're really just looking for the best way to go about doing it and moving this forward in a timeline that sort of meets with the Barrie Soccer Club's needs, because I'm not sure if that aligns with the timeline for the neighboring property.
Thank you, John. Any other members have anything else to say? Henry, I know you're there. Do you have anything? You were there? You must. Members? Say.
Question for somebody. Where we sit right now is either deferral or vote and possibly defeat, I think.
Sorry, if I could also just say, we're sort of following the process here that was outlined for us during our site application pre-consultation meeting. So, at that meeting, there was a list of items that we were told that we would have to prepare and have ready for the purpose of site plan application. And minor variance was one of the items on that list. So, we sort of are here and made this submission thinking that we were crossing I's and dotting T's to some extent with regards to process. Not to say that, we were here expecting, approval or not approval, but we were going through the process that was outlined for the club. So I don't know if now we're talking about a different process, I guess, and it would be nice to have some clarity on whether the process that we've been following this up until now is appropriate or not.
Thanks, John. I'm just gonna refer back to staff just to make sure what we're here for. I think we're here for basically the height of the dome itself and somewhat parking. So I'm gonna pass it over to Evan, our planner, just to confirm the application that's in front of us before we get ahead of ourselves with site plans, because that is not what the committee of adjustment is about.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify before I get into that, just the purpose and effect of the application. I do realize that the notice had said something somewhat different from the actual resolution. The notice speaks to a variance to parking and 60 spaces. That was just at the time when we received it. there was just a question on if it conformed to the bylaws parking provision for a private club use. We later figured out based on occupancy loads given to us from the applicant and kind of fact checked through the building department that it would have sufficient parking. So I just want to clarify here that this application does not seek to reduce the amount of parking below what is required in the bylaw. We do understand that there is, some kind of real parking issues, but from planning's perspective, we can only require the amount that's minimum amount that's required in the bylaw. We can certainly ask and make comments through the future site plan process to maximize it. But it's an ask and a comment. But the application before you today, it's a minimum front yard width of 6 meters, a minimum interior side yard width of 2.5 meters. And the reason that this is done is because there's a bit of a loophole in the bylaw that parking areas are not permitted within some bylaws called a setback. We call the required yard width. Commercial, industrial, residential sites, they allow parking lots to actually encroach into that kind of invisible distance that you kind of have to buffer buildings, between fences and stuff like that. So this is to allow kind of edges of the parking area to encroach into that required setback. We've written the variance too that the actual parking spaces, so where people are gonna, park and leave vehicles, will still remain inside these setbacks. The height variance is to permit a maximum height of up to 22 meters. I understand that this might actually be a bit less for the dome. It might be kind of more in the realm of 20 or 21 meters, but we thought it prudent to do the max 22, which is, it is correct that this is double the height limit for the institutional zone in the zoning bylaw, but kind of our justification was that the overlying commercial mixed use designation, which is kind of the predominant designation in the area, contemplates heights of 6 stories or 22 meters. And the reason that mixed use commercial designation applies in this case is because of there's a policy written into the Midhurst secondary plan that when there are adjustments to EP1 and EP2, that the neighboring designation will kind of come and apply. And the reason that's kind of in effect today is it's been determined through the kind of pre-consultation process and work completed by the applicant that what was thought to be a wetland buffer kind of touching the property is not actually included on the property, and that's been confirmed by the NVCA.
Thanks, Evan. Thanks for the explanation. I know Henry just got here. I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to say. I know you were online, so.
So yeah, I was online. I apologize for my mistake that I'm not here on time. And so yeah, there's just been a lot of issues that I think that are coming forth just tonight from both sides. And so I would like to see that some clarity is done on both sides before we go ahead with the process of this application on the height of the dome and also the setbacks. I think it just be more clarifying for us is that if you can come in with a plan of more being able to, so that both can work together, and did you come up with a plan and then we can, I have no objection as to having the soccer place there, but there are rules in place that have to be adhered to. And so therefore, I would personally like that there's more clarification come forth before we make a decision on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Henry. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, the more I think about all of the issues here, I feel like if the decisions were accept or deny, either way, there's, in my opinion, too much collateral fallout for the other side, well, for everybody. There are some issues here that I think are non. Some of the comments offered, in my opinion, are not big deals here, but there's too much unresolved. My suggestion would be, my recommendation would be to defer this so that it doesn't get denied, because it's a positive goal. I'd like to see the project not denied, but I also would like to see it done properly, without limiting either parties or any parties, not just either, it's not any parties' plans in the future. So I don't want to deny it, but there's not enough good information for me to support it. So I would recommend deferring it. When the time comes for a motion, I will do that, but maybe we're not there yet.
Thanks, Mike. And that's what I was going to suggest. Not that the soccer club didn't come with all their ducks in a row with the planning department, but I think it was the added on with the Currys and the residential. So I also want to ask our committee that we maybe defer this to get everyone's thoughts and processes and opinions correct. I don't want to say no and not come back, because I think it is a good concept, and I think our kids do need this for the winter instead of traveling, and then everything stays within the township or Springwater. So I'm going to put a motion on that we defer application A06/26. All in favor? Oh, I need a seconder. Mike? That the applic. You okay? One sec.
Go ahead.
I think it's okay now, yeah. So I have a seconder, Mike, that we're gonna defer the application A06/26. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is everyone?
Thank you.
Okay. So, item number 3, noting that item 4.1 on tonight's agenda, the committee received deferral request for application B03/26. We will not be proceeding with the decision for this application this evening. However, recognizing that the public meeting was advertised, if there's any member of the public whom have registered to make an oral submission on this application or are in attendance this evening, will allow the opportunity to make, well, oh my God, will allow the opportunity for you to make your submission. Are there any members of the public registered to make an oral submission?
There are no members of the public who have registered to speak.
Are there any additional members in the public in attendance this evening to make an oral submission? None. Thank you. Will the secretary treasurer please introduce item number 6.1 on the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 6.1 on the agenda is to appoint Jack Mordew as the new Secretary Treasurer for the Committee of Adjustment.
Do any members of the committee wish to comment or have any questions regarding 6.1 on the agenda? May I have a motion for one of the committee members for item 6.1 on the agenda? I have a seconder. Henry, that the Committee of Adjustments hereby appoint Jack Mordew as Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustments. All in favor? Carried. May I have a move and a seconder to adjourn the meeting? Brad and Henry, that this committee this Committee of Adjustments meeting held on March 24, 2026, now adjourned at 7:10 PM. All in favor?